We would like to welcome you all to the 4th annual TCIS speech contest. We are happy to have so many students, parents, teachers, and honored guests. My name is Mint.
My name is Lim. Welcome one and all. Today's high school speech competition is for grade 9 to 11. All students in this grade compete against one another and finalists were chosen out from each grade.
Today, each finalist will give their persuasive speech. The speeches are from 3 to 5 minutes. We have 3 judges for the contest today.
Thank you, Dr. Michael, Ms. Robin, and Ms. Olivier for helping us out and judging the contest for us. Each one of our finalists worked really hard to get to this stage of the competition.
After each finalist gives their speech, the judges will tabulate the result and the winner will be announced at the Monday morning assembly. The first prize winner will get 3,000 baht, the second prize winner will get 2,000 baht, and the third prize winner will get 1,000 baht.
Please give each of our contestants your full attention as they speak. We will be calling up each contestant to come to the stage one at a time. I hope you are as excited as we are to hear all the speeches.
It is now time to get this competition started. And our first contestant today is Aurora. Please give Aurora a round of applause.
Cockroaches, darkness, pain, blood, cats, dogs, your math teacher. Have I mentioned your phobia? Perhaps you are similar to me. Believe it or not, I'm afraid of fish and seaweed. All of us here have some type of phobia, whether or not we are willing to share it. Today, I will be sharing my story of fish and seaweed phobia and how I'm overcoming them. Because phobia causes maladaptive behaviors that interfere with our daily lives, we have to treat them. The first step to treat the phobia is to acknowledge the presence of the fear stimulus. And you have to advocate fear extinction by convincing yourself that you can do it. And also, you have to consistently expose yourself and challenge yourself to your fear. I am afraid of fish and seaweed. Very afraid. If you throw them to me, I will cry. I will scream. However, this is what my parents say. You're not afraid of fish. Stop acting. This is very annoying. Oh my gosh. Wait. What is this? What is this? Oh my gosh. This is my parents' reaction to their phobia. Just because you deny your phobia doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. According to the APA, more than 19 million of the population in the US suffer from a mental disorder, and half of them are refusing to acknowledge it. In addition, in a research demonstrated by Timothy J. Legg, a board-certified psychiatrist, those who refuse to acknowledge their phobia require a longer fear extinction period and are mostly unable to overcome their phobia in a healthy way. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is the healthy way to overcome your phobia? Let me tell you a secret. Last year, when I was in my recent trip to pick up trash on the beach, I cried because I was scared of those dead fish lying on the ground. I cried. However, during my second year, I did not cry. I was able to pick up trash on the sand. I improved. Therefore, you have to face your phobia by consistently convincing yourself that you can do it. You have to be consistent. You have to consistently face your fear. In addition, in a research demonstrated by the PMC Research Center, known for their clinical studies, those who consistently expose themselves to their fear allow their perception to be changed because of sensory adaptation and plasticity that alters the brain. Your perception matters. Courage, you have that in you. Still, many people may think, why not just ignore the phobia? Pretend that there is a cockroach. Most people just do this. Cockroach! Ignore it. Walk out of the room. Why not just ignore it? However, imagine that while you're studying for your test, there's a cockroach on your desk. Oops, you failed your test because you could not concentrate. Therefore, you have to face your phobia by convincing yourself that you can do it. Once you convince yourself that you can do it, according to the Biomed Central Research Center, your perceptions will change because your fear neurons fire less. The firing potential of the neurons decrease because you convince yourself. You face the challenge. Dear my fellow friends, I was once afraid to embarrass myself in front of everyone by letting you know that I'm afraid of fish and seaweed. But right now, I'm in control because I'm acknowledging my phobia. I'm consistently exposing myself to fear, and I'm challenging, telling myself that I can do it. And because I researched so much about phobias, I thought of writing a book about phobias, but those who are afraid of phobias wouldn't buy it. So, no. Before I end my speech, I would like to thank Ms. D, my AP research teacher, for being such a wonderful teacher and helping me every day to prepare for my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Aurora. The next contestant is Niji. Please give her a round of applause to welcome her to the stage.
It is absolutely imperative that every human being's freedom and human rights are respected all over the world. This was stated by Johanna Sigurðardóttir. Sigurðardóttir was the first to openly announce herself as a homosexual, holding the title of former Icelandic Prime Minister. This shows that all of us have the right to decide what we desire, what we like, and what we dislike. All of us should be able to marry the ones we love. We have our own choices of choosing our lovers. Same-sex marriage should be a law supporting those homosexual couples out there to get married. Same-sex marriage should be supported because they have their own right to choose, them being with their sincerely loved ones, and them rising up and making an impact. First, they should have their own right to choose. It was stated in a message to her two daughters that Nelson has stated that man or woman doesn't matter, just someone who's kind, honest, and respectful. This shows that no matter what gender they are, no matter what sex they are, just someone who loves each other. They'll collaborate well as a family. And just spending time with your lovers, spending quality time with your lovers, encouraging each other in different circumstances. Humans should be able to marry the ones they love. Second, we should be with our genuinely loved ones and collaborating well to make a better future as a whole. It was stated that community exists on many planes, ranging from a close group of friends to shared gay ghetto with same-sex desire. This shows that they're fighting for their rights and they're fighting for their best. People should be able to be with their loved one and create a better future together. They have been said that you have to spend time with your lovers, collaborating well and creating a better future together. If you collab well with your family member, then that should be called the one you choose to marry. Third, they could rise up and make an impact on this world society. It was stated that 2.8 can't identify as a homosexual, while those 780 million can. This was stated by Rod. Rod has stated this, showing that those 2.8 can't identify as a homosexual. Them identifying as a homosexual can lead them to imprisonment, corporal punishment, or even death. Yes, you heard it, death, which is not acceptable. The LGBTQ family is making a big impact and a critical impact on the world's society. They're fighting for their rights. They're making a tremendous impact by the word called love. On the contrary, it's traditions for men and women to get married, then have a child. But same-sex marriage should still be supported and should be a law for those homosexual couples out there to get married. It was stated by Bush. German Federal Constitutional Court said that same-sex union doesn't affect the traditions institution of marriage. This shows that no matter if it's same-sex marriage or traditions way of marriage, it doesn't affect anyone. We should fight for same-sex marriage. While it's not affecting us, we should help them, those LGBTQ people out there. As we can see, the LGBTQ family is getting bigger and bigger every day, and they're making a critical impact. It is traditions for men and women to get married. But same-sex marriage should still be supported. Spreading awareness while it's not affecting us. Spreading awareness about those who are forbidden from getting married. Same-sex marriage should be a law supporting those homosexual couples out there. Same-sex marriage is a law for those people to have their own right to choose, to be with their sincerely loved ones, and to rise up and make an impact. We should be with our lifelong partner, spending time with our lifelong partner, collaborating well with our lifelong partner. We should choose our own partners and the person who we are going to marry. Thank you.
Thank you, Niji. The next contestant is Annie. Please give Annie a round of applause.
Since the early days, there had always been a hierarchy in workplaces. The CEO would stay at the top of the hierarchy, then followed by the management level people. It is an ethical belief that production workers who produce the most output should receive the fewest salaries. All over the world, many CEOs are receiving much more benefits and salaries than production workers. There are three main reasons why there should be a more evenly distributed profit in the company. First, production workers getting laid off. Second, production workers overworking. And third, female speech. The first reason why there should be a more evenly distributed profit is because when the economy is down and the company is facing bankruptcy, the first position that they would lay off are the production workers. Posner once mentioned in his article that it is unjustifiable to see that companies value people who monitor overworked workers more than workers who actually produce output, who overwork, who receive no benefits at all. This shows a problem in the rangism and distribution of profit. Instead of laying off the production workers, they would just, instead of laying off the management level people or reducing a CEO's pay, they would just lay off the production workers. To sum up, the first effect that leads to an issue is production workers getting laid off. Second, many production workers are overworking. It is shown that in statistics, many production workers in a year are working for full-time for 45 hours a week without stop. Many board of directors had mentioned a solution to this before. The minimum wage is so low that by raising it at a considerable rate would still leave us at a percentage that is inadequate to sustain decent living conditions. In the final analysis, production workers overworking is the second effect that leads to an issue. The third reason is freedom of speech. In the company, it is more likely that management level people would receive more amount of freedom of speech. If we had a better approach, one that balances dignity and responsibility, that would provide a general right of freedom of speech towards all employees to subject a reasonable time, place, and manner. The higher up in the rank system would offer the people in the rank system to receive a higher amount of freedom of speech, while production workers fear that poor comments about their job position would affect what they are doing and they would get laid off. Moreover, various rankings and different amount of freedom of speech is the last reason why there should be a more equally distributed profit. While many people suggest that a CEO's pay should be raised to the amount that satisfies them, this is however incorrect because based on another statistics in 2020, it is shown that a CEO's pay is 800 times higher than a normal production worker's pay. Yes, 800 times. Based on another statistics, it is also shown that 120,000 production workers died a year due to overworking. While many production workers may not acquire the talents that it requires to be a CEO, but they are the base of what is keeping the company from going through bankruptcy. While the many companies have reached financial success, it is causing an economic unequal between the rich and empowered rich people. A professor at Long Island once mentioned that the top 1% of the United States owns around 34.6% of wealth and total net worth, while the bottom 80% owns only 15%. That is half of what the 1% owns. Thus, the responsibility of a CEO does not match with the salaries that they are given. If we compensated more incentives in terms of money, in terms of welfare, in terms of benefits, in terms of working conditions, would these companies not benefit more? To sum up, there are three main reasons why there should be a more evenly distributed profit. First, production workers getting laid off. Second, production workers overworking. And third, freedom of speech. The company should empower shareholders and board of directors should reconsider salaries to balance the hierarchy and prevent future economic crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. The next contestant is Nini. Please give Nini a round of applause.
Imagine that you're in a classroom. The teacher says, if nobody's going to volunteer, I'm going to pick on someone. Right at that moment, your body goes tense as the world around you starts spinning. In your mind, you're begging on your knees for the teacher not to pick you. The rowdy class slowly fades away, and you hear your name. As teenagers start to grow up physically and mentally, they tend to grow curious about the society they're living in. When this perceived view of the society goes cold and harsh, the teen would consider turning to an adult for advice. However, most parents tend to not focus on a child's mental health whatsoever. This lack of awareness can lead to uprisings of deadly disorders such as anxiety disorders, eating disorders, or depression. First and foremost, many teens suffer from anxiety disorders. It is linked to physically dangerous disorders such as panic disorder or depression. Anxiety is extremely crucial because it could cause physical symptoms such as shortness of breath or pain in their chest. Sometimes parents aren't aware of how a child feels when they're forced to meet strangers, especially when they have social phobias. To summarize, various factors could cause a teen to experience anxiety, and parents should ensure that they are there for their child when this happens. Anxiety can also cause eating disorders, which are considered extremely dangerous to a teen's physical health because it is caused by worrying too much about a person's physical appearance or how they look. An article states that Anorexia nervosa, a type of eating disorder, has around 10% mortality rate, and that is quite high. Nowadays, physical appearance is important to fit in with today's society and is made worse with social media standards. This is not a good sign for those who suffer from eating disorders, and this is a reminder for all of you. You do not have the permission to body shame anyone, period. All in all, parents should normalize their teens' physical appearance and how their body is perfect from head to toe to prevent them from experiencing these insecurities which lead to these so-called eating disorders. Lastly, one of the world's most well-known mental health disorder, depression. Family members should recognize signs of depression in their teens, especially when they start to show signs of self-harm, isolating themselves from everyone, or constant sadness. Depression is frightening because it can affect anyone at any point in their life. This just shows how depression is threatening to young adolescents who are still unsure of how life works and are still in the age of experiencing all of their firsts. Sometimes, life can hit hard during this period, and even though they are able to understand aspects of it, overthinking is inevitable. Parents should not think that this is just a phase, because it may not be. Depression can enter someone's life so easily, but when it leaves, they may not be the same anymore. Their mindset changed, their smile gone, their happiness nowhere to be found. Although it may be true and common that teens tend to push their parents away, but they only do that because they realize that their parents can be an addition to their mental health problem. Separating from their parents is a process of self-realization which will help them determine who and how they will be as an adult. However, parents cannot just neglect their child's care and have them go down the path of drugs and alcohol. Instead, parents can and should prevent them from this by sharing the experiences they had back when they were young. To conclude, guardians and parents should ensure that they're there for their child, and then To conclude, guardians and parents should take a child's mental health more seriously because they may have anxiety disorders, eating disorders, or depression. Family plays a big part in a child's mental health, which is why every single criticism from a family member can affect a child so much. Lastly, a question for the parents. When you laugh, do we not laugh? When you smile, do we not smile? When you cry, do we not cry? Please stay involved in your child's life as much as possible so they can share many more happy moments with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nini. The next contestant is Bill. Please give Bill a round of applause.
According to the World Health Organization, nearly 50 million people worldwide are suffering from Alzheimer's and related dementia. This number is even higher than the population of Spain. A recent study has indicated a 138% rise in the number of Alzheimer's patients in the United States in the year 2050. We are in an epidemic. To make matters worse, there are no medications or treatments that are able to cure the disease, although they are able to slow down the symptoms and extend the period of time patients can rely on themselves to carry out daily tasks. At this time, there are two main types of treatments for Alzheimer's disease, which are pharmacological and cognitive. Today, I am presenting you all with a cognitive treatment to Alzheimer's, photography. Photography is the best form of cognitive treatment. Not only does it allow patients to extend the period of time they can rely on themselves, but it's also helpful in the sense that it can help them maintain old memories due to the formation of new synaptic connections. And it is also helpful since it encourages patients to stay socially active. Some may argue that there are already multiple existing treatments that can do what photography can, with even fewer resources. However, as said before, photography will allow patients to engage in social situations, which will then lead to a lower deposits of beta amyloid, the well-known protein that causes Alzheimer's. Moving on, let's talk about the economic aspect. An estimated number of $305 billion is spent annually on Alzheimer's patients, and this number is continually increasing. The continuity of this trend could become an economical burden to society and families. Thus, allowing patients to learn photography is the perfect solution to amend the situation with the disease and the economics. One can argue that patients and their caregivers will have to invest in a camera, which should add on to the ongoing economical issue. Although, the price of assisted living care facilities is much higher than the price of a standard camera. As mentioned by the Alzheimer's Association, the median price of the assisted living care facility for Alzheimer's patients is roughly $51,600. In contrast, the street price of a standard camera is roughly around $50 to $80. To conclude, a study investigating the effectiveness of photography in constraining Alzheimer's symptoms is mandatory. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. The next contestant is Dalla. Please give Dalla a round of applause.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to say that the speeches before me were great. Okay, competition. It's a controversial topic, isn't it? Whether it's good or bad. Help me out here. Raise your hand if you think competition is good. Raise your hand if you think competition is bad. Well, first of all, I'd like to tell you how does competition arise. So competition arises from our tendency to feel either better or worse than someone else. In psychology, we call this superiority versus inferiority complex. These poles are always shifting and controlling us, which creates the problem we call a social comparison bias, meaning that we feel bad or dislike when someone is better than us. So, you might remember that I raised my hand saying that competition is bad. Actually, competition is necessary and extremely important. First, let's talk some statistics. So, according to the University of Melbourne, an experiment tasked to propose an alternative building solution for a 4-story car showroom originally designed as an on-site concrete structure, showed that 65% of the participants were more motivated to work in the presence of a competitive environment. At the same time, you may also say that with competitive environment, you're more concentrated in the work you're doing. And this is true. According to the Department of Psychology at Rutgers University, confirmed that in a physical effort task, participants demonstrate faster reaction time, an indicator of greater attention, better sustained effort. Despite that, in a business standpoint, a competitive market also makes businesses more effective. So according to the Competition and Market Authority paper founded in the National Archives of the UK, said that a competitive market makes companies more effective in 3 ways. First, it makes managers more efficient, putting pressure on them. 2, productive companies either excel, or if they're unproductive, they would fail. And 3, it allows companies to make more innovations and make more changes. And even Bill Gates once said that whether it's Google or Apple or free software, we've got some fantastic computers and it keeps us on our toes. These evidence suggests that having a competitive environment makes you a more concentrated person. However, one main argument against a competitive environment would be stress, right? Well, I would say that the main problem that competition have is that people fear competition because of either fear of failure, embarrassment, or insecurity. And this can be changed, however, if you talk about something you call mindset. Carl Dweck, a Stanford psychologist, emphasizes approaching a cognitive environment with a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. What do I mean by that? So, imagine a commission as a wall. Someone with a growth mindset would try to climb that wall first. And if they fail for the first time, the second time, they'll find other ways to approach that wall until eventually they would get over the wall and be successful. On the contrary, someone with a fixed mindset would approach that wall. If the wall is too high, they would just say, no, it's scary. I would fail if I try to do so. That is what separates a growth mindset than a fixed mindset. Someone with a fixed mindset would be fear and scared and insecure in face of competition. Why not just see competition as a step for you to grow? Before I end my speech, I want to say that the current definition of competition is a situation in which someone's trying to be better than someone else. I'd like to change that. Cross that out and say that competition is a situation in which one is trying to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. The next contestant is Fun Fun. Please give Fun Fun a round of applause.
Imagine a place that is safe and sound. A peaceful place where there is no violence, gun sounds, chaos, or terrifying news. What makes a place considered safe, and what determines it? Gun control enforcement is to restrict citizens' access or use of guns. Some view this law as an effective one since they believe it would keep us safe from gun violence, and at the same time, it would help reduce the number of crimes. Conversely, some view this law as decreasing citizens' freedom, and at the same time doesn't help reduce suicides. Gun control could help prevent gunfire acts of violence and homicides, accidental gun deaths, and suicide rate. Gun control would reduce gun violence such as mass shootings, homicides, suicides. The more guns there are, the more gun deaths there will be. Many acts of violence are occurred by guns, therefore gun control enforcement would help benefit the violence occurring. Firearm-related deaths are the third leading cause of injury-related deaths in the United States. This shows that gun control is capable of reducing gun violence. Gun control would reduce accidental gun deaths because when there is unsafe gun storage, more unintentional firearm deaths follow. The mortality rate was 7 times higher in the 4 states with the most guns compared to the 4 states with the fewest guns. This Harvard research shows that there is a correlation between firearm availability and unintentional firearm deaths. Even if there is no violence, the availability of guns still causes deaths, although unintentional. The current gun control laws of each country had flaws, but the positive effects outweigh them. Harvard University researchers found that the gun homicide rate dropped 42% in 7 years following the law, and the suicide rate dropped 58%. This demonstrates that with gun restrictions, the homicide and suicide rate drops drastically. Despite that, some argue that gun control has nothing to do with reducing suicides. If people wanted to commit suicide, then guns won't be necessary. However, more use a firearm 52% than every other method combined. Suffocation, mostly hanging, accounts for 23%. Poisoning or overdose accounts for 18%. Jumps accounts for 2%, cuts 2%, and other for 4%. This shows that the most suicidal rate deaths were performed by guns. Briefly, gun control is effective and necessary for reducing violence. Besides, accidental gun deaths and suicides will also be reduced. By simply controlling the ownership and the use of guns would be taking a step toward making a non-violent society. Countries should consider bringing stricter gun control rules to restrict the citizens' use of guns.
Thus, citizens will be having a chance to live in a non-chaotic place with significantly less chaos. Thank you.
Thank you, Pan Pan. The next contestant is March. Please give March a round of applause.
Shit. Oh my god. I'm such a disappointment. What am I doing here? This is so embarrassing. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Fear! So what is fear? False evidence appearing real. Fear varies from many things, from social embarrassment. Yeah, we're humans. We don't want to be made fun of by our friends, people we know, especially our teachers. Looking at you guys. Family disappointment. We want the best for them. We want to be the best thing they have created in life, right? We don't want to disappoint them, especially in Asian culture where we listen to them more than what we actually want. And self-imposed insecurity. We all are insecure. We're humans. It's real. It's all around us. And we can't run from it. But I think that we should not be afraid of failure, because when we're afraid of failures, it holds us back from many potential we have. All of the dreams, the hopes we have, all of the things that we are passionate about, it's holding us back from all of those things we like. And the second thing is that it loses confidence on ourselves. We lose confidence on ourselves. We do not want to do anything else when we're afraid of failing. Yes, this feeling is real, and fear is a thing. March, what are you, dumb? Everybody's scared. We don't want to fail. We don't want to be embarrassed. Yeah, I would say it's true. But if we don't face it, one day it's gonna be our reality. Because fear, false, is not true that if you fail in life, you will never be a successful person. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, he has opened many stores, hundreds of stores, until one store that boomed, and then we all know that's KFC. Evidence. There is no evidence that if you fail in life, you will never be successful. Jack Ma, a Chinese entrepreneur, he failed grade school. He failed college. He even failed the exam for being a manager in KFC. But he's now known as one of the richest person in China. Appearing. It is all in our mind that we think that if we fail, we will never be successful. Because we were taught as kids that if we fail that test, we will never be in high school, or middle school, or even college. And look at me now. And real. Real is the reality, the true thing that's happening in the real world, and all of the things we learn from it. Because I wonder, what happens if we actually fail? Do we die? Or do we actually learn from our failure? And if you ask me, March, how do we get more confidence? I don't want to fear anymore. I want to be powerful. I want to be passionate. Listen to me, okay? Just face it. Or, if you fail, accept your failure. Because as human, we never truly fail. We only fail if we never learn from our failures. So, what are you guys waiting for? Just do it.
Thank you, March. The next contestant is Dina. Please give Dina a round of applause.
Mic check, hello. People should not objectify others in clothing or based on their appearance. Girls, ladies, have you ever wake up one day and then you look into the mirror and then you go, wow, I look fabulous today. So you go to your closet and then you pick out a cute crop top and your favorite skirt. So you're taking a walk outside and then you bump into an adult. And the first thing they say to you is, hey, is that what you should be wearing? Or you're showing too much skin. I believe that is what goes through most girls' mind when I bring up the topic of dress codes. If you think about it, have men ever been heavily dress coded as women? What is considered appropriate? Clothes are a form of self-expression. So why can't girls wear crop tops, but boys can do their daily mile run with their shirts off? Sounds ironic, doesn't it? Some adults might answer, well, because they're a guy. So why is it different for guys and girls? Why are shoulders and belly buttons distracting? The main problem in our society is that we're telling girls to cover up instead of telling boys to treat girls with respect. Society is not only pushing clothing onto girls. We are now pushing gender roles onto clothes. For example, skirts, crop tops are considered as girls' clothes, while pants are considered as boys' clothes. If a girl were to wear pants, should be considered as a tomboy. But if a guy were to wear crop tops or skirt, he would be considered as too feminine or gay. But in reality, clothes are androgynous. Because, fun fact, crop tops were actually started by men, believe it or not. Straight men. They would cut off the bottom of their shirt to get around the dress code of the gym that banned shirtless men. So, at the end of the day, the fabric on your clothes, the fabrics, they're just pieces of cloth. And the last time I checked, fabrics on your body does not define your gender or who you are as a person. While I realize that, dress codes are implemented to make students feel equal. But it does not justify that dress codes are undoubtedly harsher on women than it is for men. It makes no sense that the law, like the Crown Act, have to be passed in order for people to wear their hair how they want to. Your hairstyle does not determine your intellect, ability, and skill set. The world is ever evolving. We're in the 21st century. We, as a community, are evolving. We have strong, independent women, vice presidents, athletes, entrepreneurs. Men are able to express themselves more than ever. I realize that people of all genders are rising up to plates to give voices to the voiceless. I realize that not a lot of females are stepping up to talk about this serious matter in our society. So, if not me, then who? If not you, then who? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nina. The next contestant is Joseph. Please give Joseph a round of applause.
Few years ago, I was in Taiwan. I was an ordinary person, but somehow I came here. My dad is a diplomat, so my whole family went to Thailand for some reasons. Life is always unpredictable. Once, I was in Taiwan. I had a family dinner with my mom, my dad, and my sister. My mom asked me about, hey Joseph, if you have a chance, would you like to study abroad? At the moment, my answer was no. I don't want to leave my comfort zone. When I was in Taiwan, I lived joyful every day. I played with my friend. I studied and played, just like that every day. I lived joyful. every day. I'm happy. What would I like to, leave my comfort zone? Why would I have to leave Taiwan and came to Thailand? However, I couldn't change the fact that I have to come here because of my dad. And I came here. The first day I came to school in English class, and it was in Mr. Michael's English class. And he told me to read a book out loud to the class. However, I couldn't speak English. And I tried, and I was super nervous. However, I'm kind of nailed it, but I don't know. It was very embarrassed. So after the day, I went home. I looked out the window. My tears fell down, and I miss my grandma. I miss my grandpa. I miss my siblings, everything, my friends. And at the moment, I was like, could I go back? I don't want to stay here. However, this is the fact. You couldn't change it. Therefore, I started to, get into the culture. I started to learn English and Thai because it's Thailand and you gotta know what they speak. So I started to listening to some English song, listening to some podcast, and just try to make my English speaking skills more fluently and getting better. It is hard, but you can't change the fact. You can't change something, so you gotta accept them. You gotta find solutions and find ways to make yourself better. So what I did was find friends, like people behind the 360. My friends, they're Thai. They spoke different language. For me, I speak Mandarin, I speak Chinese, they speak Thai, but we still can be friends because I got into the culture. I try to be a part of the culture. I'm not an outsider, so I kind of live well right now. And I want to say that if someone has the same situation as me, I think we gotta go for it and accept the situation, find a solution instead of sitting right there doing nothing. I think that's what we should do. And even though my English speaking skill is not good, but I'm going for it and I'm learning hard, study hard as I could. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. And that brings us to the end of our speech contest. We would like to thank you, the audience, for your participation and attention. The judges will be meeting to calculate the result, and the winner will be announced next week. Thank you for coming today. Speech contestant, please stay here for a group photo. Thank you all and have a great day.